So now we're going to do a rough edit of our footage, and in a subsequent video we'll do some polishing. So you open up your Adobe Premiere Elements. I'm using 11, but they're all kind of the same, so it probably doesn't really matter which one you use. I'm going to go to New Project. If you've already imported your footage into a project from the previous video, then you might open that one. But I'm just going to start from scratch because I'm using a different collection of footage that we shot the other day, using this one, Henry V editing demo. So just wait for it to load, and this could take a while, and I will edit out the weight on this instructional video. So from your point of view, it should open up right now. So I'm going to add the media. Yours might already be there in your project assets, but mine isn't. I'm going to select Files and Folders because I've copied all of my video into that folder that I just showed you on the desktop. Before I import it, let's just have a quick look at the shots that I've got. You can see it's a mixture of close-ups, and I've got some 2 shots here and a couple of wide shots, and that's called coverage. And it's really great to have all of that for when you start to do a less than rough cut. You can start to polish it up and cover up mistakes by cutting away to different angles, and also capturing interesting reactions of the kids who are listening to the dialogue and who aren't necessarily talking. So I've selected everything, and I'm going to import that into my project assets. So now when I want some video, I'm going to go into project assets. If you don't have that on your screen, make sure you're in expert mode as opposed to quick mode, and that will give you the nice normal editing timeline. So I'm going to start doing a rough cut. I'm going to start with a bit of a wide shot, and then I'm going to sort of go to medium shots, and I'm going to try and finish with close-ups. I'm not going to edit that much of this video. This was shot very quickly just for the purposes of this demonstration, so I haven't really bothered too much with lighting, and the sound isn't that great, but for editing purposes it's fairly okay. So I'll start with a wide shot, and each of these scenes has the whole movie. So every time we cut to a different angle, we did the whole scene, just so that the momentum and the dialogue could have the same inflections, and they were hitting the same words, and they came into the words in the same way, and so on. So I'll grab this one. It's 49 seconds, which pretty much covers the whole scene. I'm going to double click this now, and I just want a little bit of this because the sound isn't that great because I'm further away, and I just want to establish the relationships between the characters, the physical distances and how they're standing and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to start. The way I do it is I've double clicked it, I've got this little window, and you can see down here you've got set in and set out. That's where you choose the in point, that is where the scene or the shot starts, and the out point is where you want that shot to finish. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this. The sound is really important because I'm going to be using that to decide where I'm going to make my cut, but you probably won't be able to hear the sound very well. I'll kind of lean closer to where the speaker is, but the sound of the shot won't be that brilliant. So I'm now just going to play across a bit of that scene.
2, 1, action.
Now I've set the in point after I said action, and I'll play the rest. And that's all I'll choose. She's going, "How you awaken," and the sound is really bad, and I'm eventually not going to use that sound. So I just want a tiny little bit of this just to establish the orientation of the characters to each other. So I've clicked on set out, so now I've just got this little tiny scene here, and I can just drag it down into my timeline, and there we go. And I'm probably done with that bit now. I'm going to use this control here to make my timeline a little bigger. This is kind of like a zoom into the timeline, and I'm going to play across this shot again, and I'm going to decide a nice neat place to cut to the close-up. So I'm just going to play this again. Now you probably couldn't hear that, but she said, "Take heed how you pawn our person," and she's finished saying person there. So that's where I'm going to cut to the close-up. So I'm going to use this control, so the little scissors thing pops up, and I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to select the piece I don't want, and I'm just going to hit the delete key. Now I might go into a close-up, and I'm going to pick it up from import now person. So after she says person, that's where I'm going to pick up the next shot. So I'm going to go up to a nice close-up of the king. There she is. Double click it to open up my in-out point control. Now I'm going to play that, and I'm going to find where she finishes saying person, and that's where I'm going to set my in point. So I'll freeze it there, set in, and then I'll probably play the rest of this this scene just in her close-up. And pause it there, and that's the end of her first speech. So now I'm going to set the out point and just drag that in next to the original shot. Now the sound is really bad on this shot, and the last thing I'll do for this demonstration is I will fix that, but I'm just going to ignore that for the time being. Make my timeline a bit smaller, go to the end. So the next line, because I know what I filmed, is the Archbishop of Canterbury, and we might go with a wide-ish shot of her. So there she is with her minions. Double click it, and if I play, you can hear the king. And there's her, she's about to speak, so I'm going to set my in point. And that's all I need of her. Set the out point. Remember, this is a rough cut, so I'm not being too fussy about little bits of other people's dialogue that come in. I can fix that later. Right, and now I know the next shot is the Duke of Exeter. I might go with a two-shot of him because we're still in our wide shot mode, two-shot mode. And if I recall the takes correctly, I think he did the best job in the last take. So you can hear that he's getting more of the scene so that he can come in and just keep the same kind of pace in the scene. This is like the 6th take, so we didn't run through the whole scene each time because he was doing it the same way each time, so it was pretty good. I'm going to set my in point. And that's the end of his dialogue. So set the out point. Bonk. There we go. And now I know the next shot is the king's brother. And that's played by this girl here. And here's a 3-shot. Maybe I'll use that. I don't know. Maybe I will. Now she's about to speak, so I'm going to set my in point. Yeah, she was filling in for the real actor on that occasion, so that's why she doesn't quite know the line, but for our purposes that's not relevant. And then in it goes. And you can see how we're just building up just this rough cut. Now you may have been noticing the actors doing interesting things while someone else is talking, and so when I do the next video, I'll show you how you can incorporate those. You have little cutaways, and I might just play across this edit just to see how it's going. back to my assets and we grab the minions because they're going to talk now. There's my original in and out point, so I can actually use that to estimate. I could probably scroll across if I wanted to and quickly find their scene, but I'm just going to go the long way for now. This is good stuff. You can cut away to these expressions. They're quite interesting. They're still working on that. They sound a bit like zombies there, like possessed. Now I missed the beginning, as you can see, so what I'm doing now is I'm just scrolling the original endpoint and just looking at the faces, and that's my new endpoint, and I can just drag that down. And that's pretty much the end of that little demonstration scene. So now let's play the whole thing. I'll lean in close. I hope you can hear this. I think my volume's up to the top. Yeah. So now let's play it. And that's perfectly adequate as a rough edit. You can see it's sort of amateurish because it's this character talks, then we cut to that character talks, and that's why we do it a few more times and we start to polish it and change some of the cuts and so on. The only one I'll do now is because that wide shot sound is completely useless, but because it's far enough away, I'm not going to worry too much about making it perfect lip syncing because it's not going to matter. But I'll show you how to get some good sound from a different shot and overlay it onto the bad sound of another shot. First you have to unlink the audio and video. Every time I make a cut, it cuts both because they're linked, but it's easy to unlink them. On the mouse I'm right clicking and I'm unlinking the audio and video, and do the same with the next shot, unlink audio and video. Now I take the audio only of this shot and I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to pull this one back. I've just moused over the end of the shot like that, and I can pull, oops, that's not what I wanted, Control Z, stretch this audio out. So I've stretched that audio out and made it sync up with the beginning of my original shot. So I've got this nice good audio here playing over the bad audio of the original. So let's have a look. So it's pretty good. I missed a little bit of the beginning of Take Heed, so now I'm going to stretch both of these out to make sure we capture that. Let's see how that goes. It's good stuff. And that's fine. And when we add a bit of music and stuff to this scene, it'll actually be fairly effective, given the fact that it was shot in about 20 minutes on the basketball court. Okay, so next clip will be polishing up this video. Remember, save as you go.